Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Drew Dober to defeat Gian Silva. And I think I said something about him taking the fight to the ground. Let's move on. UFC on ESPN 59. I'll start with the main event. Rose Namajunas beat Tracy by unanimous decision in a fight that was not so competitive. I always want the main event to at least be competitive, if not end in a fucking 10-second knockout. That's fine too. Unless it's like UFC 55, where nobody in the crowd could see what the fuck happened. But Rose Namajunas looked like a contender here against Tracy. She wasn't planning on fighting Tracy either. So even though Tracy had the bigger burden here, Rose Namajunas still looked great and looked like a contender. She was a step and a half ahead of Tracy Cortez. I was really impressed with her taking the fight to the mat. And when Rose is fighting that type of fight, she's cruising. And I thought she was cruising to a victory last night. Tracy was not planning on fighting 5 rounds, let alone Rose Namajunas. This was by far the stiffest test of her career, and she didn't look bad in defeat. Cardio certainly wasn't an issue for her, and she gave herself a good shot, but Rose was just technically better than her, and better everywhere, and in such good shape. I think she would have lost this fight, whether it was 3 rounds, 5 rounds, full camp, half camp, whatever. Rose Namajunas was going to win this fight. She's just better than Tracy at this moment. But Tracy Cortez, again, was not planning on fighting 5 rounds. And in there against the best fighter she's ever fought, she did not get finished. I know Rose may not be, or a lot of women aren't such potent finishers, but Rose Namajunas is more dangerous than her record suggests. She's only got the 2 knockouts, but they're championship-level knockouts, and the submissions are over some good proven fighters. Michelle Waterson, Paige Van Zandt, all right, whatever. But Tracy Cortez is a girl that's going to prove to be a contender probably in the next few years. This was just a stiff test for her right now, and she wasn't able to get over that hill. But for Rose, she's not far at all from a title. I don't know what the division looks like and the logistics, who's fighting who, but Rose Namajunas is still a contender in her prime, and this is a win that will get better with age. Co-main event, Muslim Salikov beat Santiago Ponzinibbio by split decision. I knew it was possible because I was rooting for it, but I thought Ponzinibbio won the fight. Still, Muslim Salikov did well fighting on the outside. It's just, in a close fight like that, where the guy leading the dance, pressuring, is not getting pieced up completely from the outside, it generally goes his way. And Ponzinibbio brought the pressure, landed in general the better strikes, but Salikov had moments, and he had spinning shit. I believe even a back fist caught him, and he made it close enough where the decision went his way. Really close fight. I expected it to be that type of fight. But yeah, both guys delivered, and neither guy was knocked unconscious. I had a lot of worries about both guys going into this fight, and they both lived the fight another day, especially Salikov, who I think needed this victory in a big way here. Gian Silva beat Drew Dober by TKO in round 3, doctor stoppage. I think this fight was awesome. It was fight of the night, but Gian Silva was winning this fight. I thought Drew wanted to take him to the mat. I think I saw him attempt a few takedowns. I don't know. I have to rewatch the fight. I at least saw him feint a few takedowns, but he was not able to. Gian Silva proved to be a tough guy to physically bully in there. And even though I thought Drew had that agility advantage and the speed advantage, Gian Silva is a dangerous counter striker, and he can do damage himself and bust you up and put that fear into you. And he can do it at lightweight against Drew Dober, who is one of the tougher guys to stand your ground against. I mean, he's maybe not at the top of the division, but he's up there. And Gian Silva's a force. This guy, he's a nerd with the glasses and whatever, the fight nerd guy, but he's fucking, he's a dangerous, tough son of a bitch. And he's a contender wherever the fuck he chooses to fight. Lightweight here, beating Drew Dober, it's not going to get you into the rankings, I think, or maybe it will. I don't know. But it's a big victory, bigger than the win over Charles Jourdain was, which was still exceptional. And putting Jourdain away like that was really exceptional. This also counts as a TKO, but he didn't put Drew away. And Drew, look, he wasn't out of the fight. I thought he was down 2 rounds, and I thought he was going to lose via decision. I thought he was going to lose the third. Not that I don't know what my scorecard was in the third, but I just assumed he was going to lose the third. But he still had 3.5 minutes to work, and it sucks he was denied that in his hometown. You know, him with the crowd behind him fighting out of desperation. It could have been a great moment for Drew, and he's pulled it off before. But yeah, he was denied that, and has to take a tough loss here to Gian Silva, who, man, the guy's an exciting new entry into the UFC. I don't know where he's going to settle with his weight class, but he's already got my attention, my respect, and probably won't be long before he's ranked. Maybe a few different weight classes. Gabriel Bonfim looked really good against Angelosa. I thought this fight was going to get away from him. I thought that first round danger was taken away early by Ange, and that was very bad news for Bonfim. But Bonfim really turned it around and got that jab working and took over the fight. He's got excellent boxing, and Angelosa, he's really tough, but he's not so imposing on the feet. So he can take it, but he can let somebody take over the fight and take that center ground and beat him up. And that's what happened in this fight. I thought Angelosa looked tough in the end, but his cardio wasn't there for him. He wasn't the type of fighter like Nicholas Dalby to tax the cardio of Gabriel Bonfim. And his wrestling wasn't there for him after round 1. I don't know if that was plan A or whatever, but he got a good 5 minutes out of it, and that was it. And on the feet, he was no match for Bonfim. So really good win for Bonfim, winning by decision. He's fought long before. He's never won a decision. This is his first decision victory. But he's gotten a few round 3 finishes that I've seen. But this was a statement, winning a decision, coming off of a knockout loss like the Dalby loss where he was totally gassed out, and that was the story of the defeat. Yeah, this was a good way to bounce back. Julian Erosa beat Christian Rodriguez by guillotine choke in round 1. That was awesome. I thought Julian Erosa I thought he had a shot at getting Christian Rodriguez out of there. Maybe down the stretch, though, more likely. But here, he got it done in round 1. He's the first guy to beat Christian Rodriguez with a finish. He's the first guy to submit him. And he's also the first guy to beat him. Oh, no, he's not the first guy to beat him at 145. He lost his debut against Jonathan Pierce in the UFC. But Julian Erosa, man, when you can't knock him out, he's a problem for you. He's a big problem throughout the whole fight, and especially as the fight goes on. Here didn't go too deep, just got it done in round 1. But yeah, the guy's exceptional. If you can't knock him out, he's a problem for you. And that danger was there for him. He's got a really good submission game and just went for that guillotine, locked up that body triangle too, and tightened it up and got him. And you know what, Christian Rodriguez, I should mention for him, his profile or whatever. I think he's better off fighting at 135. I don't know if that's still an option for him. I don't know the negotiations between he and the UFC, but I think he better get his ass down to 135 if he's still able to, because he's still an excellent fighter with a lot of promise and a lot of great traits. Wasn't able to show so here in this fight, but yeah, the guy, he still has a big future if he can get to fighting guys his size again. Abdul Razak Alhassan and Cody Brundage. That's a no contest. I thought Brundage won. But either way, whatever. Whatever. I don't know. I don't want to shit on a fucking fighter. But Cody Brundage, come on, man. He checked out. I would have checked out. I wouldn't let Abdul Razak Alhassan hit me with one shot. I'd be tapping out before he got to the center of the fucking octagon. But if I was a fighter, I don't know. I'm not saying, look, he was fucked up. Maybe he was really hurt and whatever. But at some point, shit just starts adding up. It's like with Ken Shamrock. How many fucking flub finishes there were with Ken Shamrock. Against Sakuraba and Royce Gracie and Rich Franklin. He fell. What the fuck happened? And Fujita and this one. And just, it adds up. And with Cody Brundage, this is definitely another strike against his durability overall. And he could have won via DQ and whatever, like he did against Malkoon, but it's still another strike on the profile against his durability. Might be his heart, might be whatever the fuck you want to attribute it to, but he's breakable. And for Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he did what he needed to do, but whatever. He did hit him with an illegal shot. I heard the ref calling it and whatever, and he was not far off at all from a clean round one finish, and he let the adrenaline and emotion and whatever get the best of him, and yeah. So it sucks he was denied that victory. That guy did what he needed to do, came out like a bat out of hell. I heard him say in an interview he's going to go for those elbows when Cody Brundage is trying to take him down, and he went for it really violently, and yeah, was denied the victory because, Cody Brundage. Charles Johnson got a big victory over Joshua Van. Johnson, man, he looked incredible in round 3. Throughout the first 2 rounds, I thought Van looked incredible, and I was all about round 3 in this fight. Who was going to win it? I did not think it would end via finish. I was very sure it would go the distance, but the one trait I was most sure of was Charles Johnson's durability. I still had a little bit of doubt with Joshua Van. His only loss was a submission. But still, Charles Johnson did what he needed to do in round 3, came out, started throwing heavy leather, and clipped him with a big shot and then an uppercut and put him away. It was the moment of Charles Johnson's career. This guy is a true round 3 fighter. And here in this fight, he was down 2 rounds, in my opinion. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. But I thought he was down, and he put his foot on the gas, changed his tactics, and gave himself a shot, and it paid off in a big way. The veteran shuts down the newcomer, who still has a lot of promise, Joshua Van. And Charles Johnson, a guy that a few fights ago, years ago, I was surprised he was still in the UFC after that long losing streak. A year ago, maybe. He fights so frequently. That's another thing I love about this guy. He's like Alex Pereira. These guys fight every 2 months, and I love it. And Charles Johnson here proved he's a valuable asset to the UFC again in another way. He can't just, it's not just that he can fight anybody and he's willing to. He's knocking them out in round 3. Top prospects like Joshua Van, knocking them out cold and giving the UFC some great fucking television. And for Joshua Van, I still think he's an excellent round 3 fighter, and this is not a strike against his cardio or that aspect of it, because he was knocked out. Doesn't matter if it happens in 10 seconds or 11 minutes. It's just a failure of your chin. And that's a new wrinkle to the profile of Joshua Van. But I still think he's an excellent fighter, and it'll be interesting to see how this loss changes him, because for his next fight, he will be coming off a knockout loss. That's the kind of analysis you get here at MMA Al Dente. But yeah, just phenomenal moment for Charles Johnson. That was the moment of the night for me. Jasmine Jasdavicius beat Fatima Klein. This was a tough debut for Fatima Klein, a girl that I still think has a lot of promise, just like Joshua Van and Christian Rodriguez and all these great fighters who lost last night. But Fatima here was shut down by a bigger, stronger girl, Jasmine, and a wrestler. I thought Jasmine looked really good here. It was another grindy decision victory, and she did what she needed to do. Hung in tough. Even in the end, I thought the fight could have gotten away from her a little bit in the end in round 3, despite her being up 2 rounds, so it doesn't matter. But she did her fucking part and wrangled Fatima Klein every round. Looked really good. And this is a win that might get better with age, because I think Fatima's going to have a great career, but it will be a career at strawweight, which is where Fatima Klein belongs and plans to be. So, and for Fatima, for this to be your first loss, losing on very short notice to a girl that's up a weight class and a wrestler and already an established fighter or contender, I don't know what these words even mean. But Fatima looked really good in defeat. I think it was just a tough matchup, but she showed she couldn't be overwhelmed on the ground. She didn't wilt. And for a girl that was planning on fighting in 2 months or whatever and probably wasn't in peak condition. Conditioning wasn't an issue for her. It was just all the technical shit. Montel Jackson knocked out Damone Blackshear. This was amazing. I did not expect this. I was positive this fight was going the distance. Positive. I thought Montel did have a striking advantage, and I thought Damone in general had a grappling advantage, although I thought it'd be hard for him to win that type of fight, to out-wrestle Montel. But there was no wrestling or grappling or even kicks, I think. There was nothing but a few punches, and he knocked him out with a straight right counter. I think there was a kick, but he knocked him out with a straight right counter, and then the few ground and pound shots made sure he was unconscious. Excellent win for Montel Jackson. I feel like he doesn't always show that danger, and when he does, sometimes he can dismiss it because, Ronnie Yaya and whatever. But not that Ronnie's fragile, but Ronnie was 40 years old, and we were all kind of waiting for him to become fragile. But here he showed that next level danger, knocking out a prime Damone Blackshear, who is exceptionally durable, a guy that's only been beaten by decision and largely out-grappled. And here he adds a whole new wrinkle to Damone Blackshear's profile by knocking him unconscious. Excellent win for Montel and really tough loss for Damone. Damone, he's had an up and down career, but he's had some momentum lately. And yeah, it all comes to a halt here, and he's going to have a long recovery, I'm sure, because that was a brutal knockout. Luana Santos beat Maria Agapova, whatever the fuck. Maria, very dangerous girl, but very vulnerable. And once Luana won that scrambling battle with the hip toss and whatever, she was going to win this fight. Because Maria Agapova was about to slow down, and all that danger was about to be taken away from her, and then it was just about survival, and she's not a great survivor. Luana Santos, she's still got a lot of promise. I didn't love her in that Stephanie Egger fight, but she's, in general, looked really good in the UFC, and in general, this is her best victory, and as good as she's looked. So, I don't know if it's her best victory, but still a great victory, and she smoked Maria Agapova a lot easier than other fighters have, more established fighters. And for Maria, she might be gone. I don't fucking know. Andre Petroski beat Josh Fremd by decision. I thought Petroski would fight this type of fight. He was a little worried about his chin, I'm sure, or whatever happened to him in the Malkoun fight. And he kept himself from getting finished, and he kept himself safe here. He was dominant on top, but was not able to finish Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd kept escaping out the back door, and he's got those long legs, and he's a crafty grappler himself. But he lost this fight on the wrestling front. Petroski's a big, strong, physical wrestler and monster top game fighter, and he went back to his old ways and looked really, really good here. So a great win for Andre Petroski. And for Josh Fremd, another tough loss, but he didn't look bad in defeat. He was just overmatched. I guess I could say his wrestling looked bad. But I think this was a tough matchup for Josh Fremd. He's not the most physically imposing guy. He doesn't have that danger on the feet. And here he was physically outmatched. And Evan Elder beat Darius Flowers by arm triangle choke in round 2. I thought Evan Elder looked great in this fight. Darius Flowers, he was a step and a half behind throughout this whole fight. Evans got the much cleaner striking, that jab, and he landed a lot of beautiful right hands every which way, timing a lot of great strikes, especially uppercuts. But he just outlasted Darius. I don't think Darius was hurt or whatever. He just beat him up everywhere, beat him up on the feet, ripped him to the mat, out-scrambled him whenever there were scrambles, and kept that pressure on top. And I thought those body punches on a fatiguing fighter were excellent. Evan Elder pounding the body of Darius Flowers. And that may have softened them up a little bit, and then the eventual finish came in round 2. Arm triangle choke. Evan Elder looked incredible here. Both guys took the fight on very short notice. So I think my pick of Evan Elder winning by decision was probably pretty fucking stupid. But he's not the most potent submission finisher as a pro, and here he gets a nice submission victory over a guy that he should have put away probably. So great win for Evan Elder and tough loss for Darius Flowers. Again, I don't know when these guys signed the contract and what happened, but I only heard about this fight a few hours ago. So I'm sure it was in optimal circumstances, and both guys stepped up and gave us a good battle. So tough loss for Flowers, great win for Elder. Overall, not a bad event, and not a bad event for MMA Al Dente either. My picks I think I went 11 for 12. I don't often brag about picks. I lead the video talking about my fucking my defeat there, Drew Dober or whatever. But I did get 11 out of 12 right, which is fucking awesome, even though it was bullshit. And actually, Abdul Razak Al Hassan didn't win, so I guess that never happened. But yeah, I got a lot of these fights wrong with the way they would go and a lot of traits and whatever. Things failed me on the betting front, but MMA Al Dente went 11 for 12 or 10 for 11 because of Cody Brundage. And don't you fucking forget that. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.